Okay, this is how you perform regular maintenance on the MacDev RX2 Gladiator. This is the high pressure reg that comes with the MacDev clone paintball marker. Basically, the Gladiator design splits up the reg into two parts. There is the top works up here and the bottom works down here. So we're going to start just by separating these two pieces. So just find the spot where they meet right here and then grab the bottom works and the top works separately and twist them apart. Set the bottom works aside. So inside the top works you've got the piston seat, or the piston retainer, and the spring. And normally they don't just come out on their own, so you can just take a pen or something like that and stick it down the top of the top works and pop them out. They'll just fall out like that. And then just take them apart. You've got the piston retainer, this part, the spring, and the piston itself. So I'm going to take a paper towel and just clean off each of these pieces. There shouldn't really ever be anything on the spring, but you can just clean that off too. And clean off the piston also. And it's recommended that you use MacDev Militia Lube for this. You can use Dow 33 or anything else that's based on that, like Sleek or Shocker Lube. Those will work fine. So I'm going to start just by putting the spring back onto the piston. Take a little bit of lube and run it around the piston tip, just a little bit, and then I'm going to slide the retainer back on. Now on the RX2 Gladiator, the retainer is all one piece now, so you're going to want to take the side that is completely flat and closest to this O-ring, and that is going to go on first, so that you've got this groove on the other side. Now that we've got that back together, we can take a Q-tip and just kind of clean out the inside of the top works. You could use a paper towel or whatever also, and then take a little bit of lube and run it around the inside of the top works and just try to coat the whole inside. And then take a little bit of lube again and put it on the piston O-ring, and then another dab on the retainer O-ring, and then just kind of run that along both of those and make sure they both just kind of look, wet. They don't need to be caked with lube, and they don't want to look dry either. So then once that's done, you can just stick that back into the top works, and you want to take a paper towel or something and just clean off the piston tip itself. You don't want any lube itself right on there, and then we'll set that aside. Now the bottom works has basically three pieces. There's the top, the collar, and the bottom of it. So I'm just going to grab the bottom and the top and then unscrew them. I'll set the top aside. The top is the part that has the filter on it. Set that aside and then pop the bottom out of the collar. Now I can just take a paper towel and clean off the inside of the reg collar. Set that aside, and then we'll clean off the bottom piece. Clean off the reg seat there. Now remove the filter and then clean off this top piece. And one thing you want to check on while you're here is the reg seat itself, this little red plastic piece inside of the adjuster screw. It can get damaged and dented. The whole point of the filter being there is that no dirt or debris can land on this, and then when the piston comes down and touches the reg seat, that it doesn't crush any dirt or debris into that and damage it. So you just want to kind of take a look at it. It should look pretty flat. There shouldn't be any like rings in it or dents or dings or anything like that. If there are, you can actually just take like a cut-off Q-tip and push through the back of the retainer screw or the adjuster screw and pop that reg seat out. and then flip it over and stick it back in. So you basically have kind of two uses out of every reg seat. So just one thing to check there. Then to put this back together, I usually take a little bit of lube and run it along the O-ring on the top piece, as well as the O-ring on the bottom piece, because that reg collar does spin around and you just want it to be able to spin freely. So take the filter, and to clean the filter, I mean, all you really need to do is just kind of blow it off and stick it back on. Mine looks pretty clean, so I'm just going to put it back on. And then I'll take the reg collar with the macro line pointing down and put it onto the top, and then just take the bottom piece, put it back in, and screw it back together. Now, when you put it back together, one thing that happens is now the piston is kind of free floating. You want to zero out the reg before you put everything back on your gun. Let's grab my Allen key here. I think this is the right one. No. This one. And then you're just going to turn it clockwise. Not a ton. You don't want to push it into the reg seat, push the reg seat into the piston and damage it, but just turn it a little bit until you kind of feel it stop, and then put it back on the gun, and or a reg tester if you have one, and set the pressure, and you should be good to go. That's it.